There's no objections. We can start the agenda. The first item on the agenda is 162.8 Main Street, the sawmill permitting requirements. There's been some correspondence, I think, with Mass Natural Heritage. Mary, could you fill us in, please?
Yes. All right. So, well, I had met Maura on this site, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And one of the things we discussed was just verifying with Natural Heritage whether a filing was required. I called Natural Heritage and we went back and forth a little bit, and they thought that a filing would be required. And I guess they sent a kind of an enforcement sort of letter, just asking for a filing. I did talk to someone from Natural Heritage this morning, and I know they were going to reach out to you, Bill, the property owner. And so I think I don't know what their final take is, but I believe a filing is required. And I think they're also looking for just kind of some sense from us as what we're going to require for the situation. And I do have in my agent's report some pictures from 2 weeks ago, which you guys may or may not have looked at yet, which I can share my screen. Oops. All right, so they have made progress since last time I was out there. They have moved the sawmill piece of equipment itself out of the 200-foot buffer zone area and put a little bit of some gravel in and made a flat area for it. These pictures are looking, into the 200-foot riparian area. There's still firewood and some piles of wood that's there. This larger pile, I believe, is new since I had been last out there, but I could be wrong on that. And this is just some more pictures of the site. So this is kind of standing in the riparian area, looking away from it towards the rest of the site and what they have going on. And this is standing at the far end, looking toward the riparian area. It kind of shows the full extent of, they're storing logs, there's a little bit of a, disturbance to the ground with their equipment moving around, but this is kind of pretty much the whole operation. They've got their sawmill piece right here, and they're basically storing logs until they're needed or whatever. And that's kind of what's going on. And I think this had come up from planning. I'm not sure, Mara, maybe you can correct me. This is looking towards the houses on Main Street, and they had started with putting up a dirt berm there, I believe, to just kind of provide some buffering between the neighbors.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's kind of my pictures and report. And as I've been mulling this over, is a filing required? Is it not? I know Maura is working towards getting this stuff out of the 200-foot buffer zone.
Yes.
One thing we could do is just do a determination, which is a small, simpler filing, Maura, which we're just kind of, put things in stone as to what the commission expects and what we'd like to see. Or, the commission could write a letter and describe what's going on and how they would like to handle this. So as just to kind of summarize it, one thing we went over with Natural Heritage is there is no like permanent alteration going on. It's storing things and it's using equipment on the property. I know just talking with Natural Heritage, I think they were thinking if you could get everything out of the 200-foot zone, that would make them a lot happier as well. But I don't know what they may still want a filing, but that might be part of, what they require as part of their filing is just moving the stuff. So.
Yeah. So Mary, that picture from the big log pile that you weren't sure if showed up afterwards, that is moved.
Oh, is that all gone now?
Yeah, that is moved. So that one is out.
All that's moved.
No. Oh yeah, those two so okay. So we did move other stuff. We did move. All right. So the big pile of logs, that is all the firewood logs we talked about. And then those 2 stacks of lumber in the front, actually, I think it was 3. Those are all moved. The shed is moved from down bottom. It's up top now. I can send you pictures tomorrow if you want. And that firewood in the back, those 3 stacks. Yep. Those will be coming to the house in this week, weather permitting.
Okay, wow, that's great
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah.
So, that's really good. The other thing that came up was this land is now in chapter 61 for forestry, and just talking with people at Natural Heritage and reviewing the guidance that I have on agriculture. Even though it's in forestry, this specific use I don't think is exempt because a sawmill is not harvesting trees. So I think that is kind of the technical difference here for this situation.
If I can say something.
Yeah.
If they're cutting logs or trees from another piece of property anywhere in Massachusetts that's in 61 forestry, they can have a sawmill there without a permit, and especially if they're cutting any trees from that property. But it's not in forestry. It's been put in agricultural. It's in 61A.
Forestry B61B.
Yeah.
It's put in agricultural, and that was from the Farm Bureau attorney that cleared that up with me. He said that, but you guys gave them a permit, so they are permitted, from the town to do others.
And if you're speaking of the planning board permit to operate the sawmill.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, for them to do private work for other people, they would need the permit. But if they were just doing stuff from another forest that was in 61, they would not need a permit. And this property's been put into 61A agricultural.
Okay.
And we're going to the USDA for a growing plan for the property. And a lot of this natural heritage stuff started. I had Car Research Lab look into it, and also land planning, and we had botanists and people to find out what there were for species. So as far as 2011, I have the maps and all of the records. There were no endangered species in that area. And I had a couple maps, maybe up to like 2015 or 2014. I didn't date them, and there was no problem with any kinds of species. It's kind of like when the lady from Fisheries and Wildlife sent me the plot plan. I mean, they didn't even give us, they actually have the driveway to 140, which kind of, aggravated me as an endangered species list right out to Route 140. And it's like, it doesn't encroach on any neighbors. The endangered species stop right at the edge of our property. And, so the turtles or whatever's out there, they weren't too clear on what's out there. She couldn't even tell me what was out there. She said it could possibly, everything is like woulda, shoulda, and possibly be there. Stopped at the neighbors' yards. And I think when they filed for their permit, I think they tried to do everything right. There were like 80-something neighbors. So there's a lot of other land, and there's a lot of other messy properties around there. And if you just drive around the neighborhood, there's a lot of oil barrels and a lot of other things a lot closer to that river. Lawnmowers, stuff with engine oil and gasoline and diesel, oil 55-gallon drums on people's properties right around there. So, we don't mind clearing this area up, but we're not going to be the only one.
Yeah.
They filed for permit. I think they did everything right. I think, and I'm not angry at the town or anything. I think you guys have been great too, but they're just not going to, single this out. We're trying to do low impact, low traffic. There's not a lot of noise back there. They're there with their family. It's basically a minority woman-owned business. And I feel that, kind of getting trampled on by the state right now. And, we didn't file for a building permit, put 40 or 40, whatever, housing in there, affordable housing. We didn't file for, sell it to, a railroad neighbor or anything. Trying to just get some money back and pay some taxes and use the property in a pretty environmentally friendly way. And I feel like, kind of starting to get a lot of pushback right now.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Bill. I guess, does anyone in the commission wish to comment on this at this time?
Right.
I just wonder, this is Sandy. How
Sandy.
long before that area will be cleaned out? She says it's partly cleaned and the wood pile's going, so what's an estimate on when it would be,
This is kind of weather dependent and up tomorrow.
Yeah, so.
like
Um,
weeks, months, years?
I would say by the spring. I mean, if I have to help them, we could put it, if we don't get 2-3 feet of snow, that buffer
Okay.
zone you seem to be concerned about, I would say by the spring.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Just wondering.
Yeah, no problem.
Just let 'em know.
Okay, well, this is Mike.
Just tell 'em that all that's left is-
Great, thanks for showing the map. I just want to comment on a couple things. One, I think we should probably wait until we hear more from Natural Heritage about this before we make a decision. I would tend to want to go the determination route, but let's hold off until we hear from Heritage if everyone agrees with that. I think we need to maybe figure out the Chapter 61A/B issue. But the other thing I just want to say for Bill and Maura, in terms of resources, I think we can say that the issue is wood turtles, and wood turtle habitat is mapped along Warren Brook from beyond your property upstream all the way to Fowler Street, roughly. And several years ago, the commission hired someone to radio track wood turtles, and we found that there is a nesting site at the town well site, which is downstream from your property, and remarkably, one female turtle, migrated pretty much all the way from Fowler Street down to the well site to lay her eggs, and then went back upstream. The wood turtles tend to be, habitat-wise, they tend to be in the stream during the late fall, winter, spring, and then they actually forage in upland areas during the summer and early fall. That's why Natural Heritage will map areas near streams like this as potential wood turtle habitat. In other words, your property is mapped. So I just want to give you a little bit of background, where Natural Heritage is probably coming from. But I think the Chapter 61A/B issue probably should be looked at a little bit.
May I ask a question regarding the wood turtles?
Sure.
Now, how large are these wood turtles? These are they're very small, I understand.
They're maybe 8 inches, females.
So if you basically look on that map with 100-foot buffer from the river there's pretty much a 2 or 3 foot granite stacked stone wall. I mean, was that something they will cross?
Probably not. That's a good comment. Sometimes there are gaps in stone walls. I imagine they could cross, but they do travel quite far from streams during the summer and fall. 1,000 feet or more is not unusual. But certainly something like a stone wall, they're not going to crawl over a stone wall, but they may find gaps in the wall and go through the gaps. But
just a couple more if you have a second. Now, sometimes that area will flood down around the river. It gets pretty wide. We get 5 inches of rain and so forth. Do they survive a flood? I mean, are they actually? They can go underwater and last a long time?
Sure. They actually they overwinter pretty much underwater, in cuts in the bank, places where the flow isn't too high, but they certainly, I mean, this is what they do. They live in perennial brooks like this, streams like this for part of the year, and forage and lay their eggs in nearby upland areas during the spring, and then they lay their eggs in the spring, and then they forage through the summer, early fall,
So
and
they
then
can
back to the
actually,
streams.
they can actually like breathe underwater?
They don't, well, I think they mate in the water. Breathe, did you say?
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
well, I think they, not to get too technical, but they, when the water's really cold, they're able to breathe some extent, I believe, through their tails or through their rear ends.
mhm.
You can see uh, snapping turtles, painted turtles. If you've got like clear ice, you can see them underwater in
Mhm.
ponds. And it's sometimes they do. There is mortality associated with low oxygen, but wood turtles are fairly, are able to. They spend most of their winters very immobile,
Mhm.
near the bottom, some maybe stream banks or something. But if they need oxygen, they could surface and go back down.
Now, were they an endangered species or are they
They're
like
state listed threatened species.
threatened? Because I did a little checking on them, and I mean, it seems like they're from Nova Scotia now all the way to the middle of the United States and down to Virginia. So it seems like they've quite a footprint.
Yeah, and the range is large, but again, based on what natural heritage, Mass Natural Heritage, the state program
Mhm.
knows about their distribution and how common they are in Massachusetts, they're listed as actually, I may have misspoke. I think that Mary, help me. Are they special concern or are they threatened? They may be special concern, sorry, which
Okay.
is the lowest level of protection. Dave, help. uh we can
Sorry, I
go
was trying to move. Yeah, I think so, Mike. I think they were down listed to
special
special
concern.
concern a couple of
Okay.
years ago, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because there was I kind of lost the chart. There was a chart on the fisheries of the 5 species that in Upton that are endangered, and just it's funny because their date was way back in the Carr Research Lab, and then when land planning did it, they had no mention of national heritage about the turtle, like 10, 12 years ago. So it must have just been
Well,
put.
they have been listed for a long time, but so that report may have missed something. But
Okay.
the mapping does change.
Hmm.
The last time the mapping was updated was a few years ago.
Right,
Natural
2021.
Heritage does the mapping.
Mhm.
Dave, that was 21, right? I think.
All right, so I guess I'm going to like move ahead and file the natural heritage plan with Fish and Wildlife, and see what they come back. I'm going to also talk to the United States Agricultural about getting a farming plan and see what they have to say. The areas we can work in with the help of wildlife and fisheries.
Mhm. That would be great. And the last thing I want to say about the wood turtles, I don't want to take too much time, but I mean the concern is, they could be basically injured by equipment.
Mhm.
They might some of these disturbed areas near on your property might entice them as egg laying areas.
Mhm.
So the eggs would be vulnerable, and the hatchlings would be vulnerable. And just to give you a sense of the regulatory climate or regulatory what heritage will require, the town, the Conservation Commission is planning to build a trail bridge across Warren Brook, way upstream of here, near Fowler Street. And when you file a permit to do projects like that, Natural Heritage reviews it, and they have a construction window that they're asking us to abide by, which is actually November 15th to April 15th. They want us to stay out of the habitat as much as possible from April 15th to November 15th. So no one's, you're not being picked on. I kind of just want to make that comment. The commission itself is having to work around a construction window that Natural Heritage has directed us to follow.
No, I've heard a lot of stories of different projects where they've actually had to put fencing and netting up and direct the turtles down this way, and they've actually had tunnels under roads with skylights in the tunnels. And you know, I was talking to a couple engineers today, and around this area, you know, of the Upton area, they've done that in a few spots. So, you know, I mean, nobody wants to step on any turtles for sure.
Okay. Well, thanks. I don't mean to talk so much, but does anyone else in the commission want to weigh in on this, or Mary, do you have any?
Just let us know if you find any with little antennas on them, we're still tracking.
Yeah,
Yeah, just one more comment so people understand all the wetland resources involved. So this line's kind of the 200-foot riverfront area, but over here, there's also BVW, which I didn't try to, but you can kind of see the edge of it going like that. So that just gives you, so not only, I mean, they are being very good to remove everything out of this 200-foot riparian area, but there will still be stuff within the buffer zone in this side. I don't
What
think
is
we
your
can-
buffer zone from that area?
the buffer zone from the wetland, which
Right,
is
what is the buff? What is that? What's that?
I haven't.
buffer zone?
It's not delineated. It's approximately here. Just
I've had that. I have information that I've had the scientists and engineering scientists did that. I have that documentation. So I'm asking you, how far do you expect them to stay away from that?
well, this is up to the board to decide. So basically, and just so you understand what filing and determination is, I mean, it's a little bit of paperwork, but it's not that big of a deal. It's basically any work that's in 100 feet of a wetland, it needs to go through the commission. So it's not saying you can't do it, it just needs review. And that's all that a determination would be. It's just kind of like you got your permit for the planning board. It's a similar kind of thing. It's just allowing the work and maybe putting some, you know, some little conditions on it. So I mean, that's one way to approach it. So yeah, and if you had a wetland delineation done on this property and you have that information, that would be very helpful and certainly be very useful information. If you have a plan, we can scan it now. Our scanner's working. That'd be very, very useful.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, since the town well's been down there, you know, my father's owned that for a long time. I think 1991, and I've been, you know, I've always been around that property, and it seems like the wetlands seem to be receding. I think the water, the well and the water in the town is kind of draining that water table down. And I think a lot of that stuff is also, you know, it seems like the wetlands is receding. So I want to ask you one more question. On your green 200-foot buffer zone on the inland part, right about there, basically, if you can remember where they had, there's some apple trees planted and where they had their shed set up where the sawmill was originally. As long as we're out of the 200-foot from the river, I mean, they can be down in that like nook.
Down in here.
Down in there, yes.
Yeah, well, that's, again, that's, you know, probably within 100 foot of this wetland, you know, that would be, you know, something to discuss. So, yeah, I think it's probably okay. I mean, the commission kind of has to weigh, you know, riverfront area is probably more important than, you know, other things, who knows? It is actually a resource area, whereas the buffer to the wetland is not a resource area.
Because the one thing they're going to ask for a map of the working area we're looking for. So I don't want to, you know, waste time. So I want to get you all on board right now.
Right. So
Get
yeah,
your thoughts on it.
if you have a delineation which shows the exact wetland line, that'd be useful.
Okay. Well, I will. I'll probably come see you maybe before I submit the plan to the fisheries and just let you like take a peek at it, make sure we're on the same page.
Right, and I know I was talking with Maura about maybe, you know, they're thinking of trying to move some of their piles back here.
Yeah.
Just kind of in this area.
Okay.
Not great for the houses, but further away from the wetlands for sure.
No, that's fine. I mean, we're planning on putting up that berm, as you saw, and maybe planting some kind of western cedar trees or like a buffer, to maybe keep some noise down and, you know, eyeballs off and on that 3 or 4 foot berm. So we'll continue with that, I guess, and maybe remove some of those trees and clear out some of that area. And we'll also, you know, mention that.
All right, so I guess, Mike, should we have them come back to the next meeting?
Sure, or I guess the next meeting where there's new information.
Right, okay.
you know, and just, Mary, just please keep coordinating with,
Yep.
with everyone involved. Okay, well, thank you, Bill and Mara.
Thank
All right,
you.
well, thank you, guys, and we'll be in touch, or I'll be in touch with Maura on the plan.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
All right, thank you.
All right, Maura, I'll talk to you later.
All right, Billy, see ya.
Alrighty, let's see. The next, we have the NOI at Grove Street, Upton DPW. I believe that was continued, Mary, is that correct?
Yes, that is continued, so maybe we should vote on a formal continuance there.
Do you have a motion to continue to when? When would you like it?
To February 14th, and I think I gave 7 o'clock.
10 o'clock. So that motion to continue, the NOI for the Grove Street Bridge to February 14th at 7 o'clock.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Voice vote.
Aye.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
Alrighty, thank you. The next thing on the agenda is at 7:30 an RDA for 6 Shore Drive, removal of trees. It's 7:28 right now. Not sure what we could, Mary, do you have anything we could spend 2 minutes on? You want to start your administrator's report in for a couple minutes?
Yeah, just a note, 44 Milford Street, the gas station. A representative stopped by, they're thinking of moving their diesel pump and adding a few electric charging stations. And so I told them, this would either be a separate NOI or an amendment, but seemed reasonable since it's all going to be in previously disturbed area. And the diesel pump would be, if you're familiar with the gas station, it would be a little bit to the right of the building. So slightly closer to the wetland, but he's trying to, I guess he always gets people who are getting diesel, kind of holding up the line, no one else can use that side. So I think and then the electric charging stations was a nice idea. So that's.
Okay, great. Well, okay, I think we can, it's very nearly 7:30. I think we can read the public notice for the 6 Shore Drive RDA.
Yes. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, January 24th. Request for determination filed by David Joseph Hardscapes and Construction for the removal of several trees from a backyard at 6 Shore Drive, 7:30 p.m.
Okay, is there anyone from 6 Shore Drive that'd like to speak about this? Sir, I think you might be muted.
You're muted. Hold on. Mike, hold on. He's trying to get that together. It's Heidi.
Hello. Oh,
Hi, Mike.
hello,
You got me now?
we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, so, yeah, all it is all the trees that are dangerous around this young lady's house. They obviously had to be taken down. The roots are exposed. We need to get rid of them. Now I understand. I read all the paperwork. So the small trees towards, I don't know, they probably are birches, a couple birches, towards the water. You don't want taken down. That's fine. So, in long story short, the trees that we're taking down are just a hazard. It really is the end of this. There's not really much to talk about. It's a lot of money. It's a very dangerous area. We have to start on one spot and work our way to even be able to take down the more dangerous trees because, it's just the right idea. If it was your home, I know you would probably do the same thing. If you looked at, I saw the drawing you guys had. If you looked at it, it makes sense. As far as getting close to the water, we'll abide by all the, you know, all the laws as far as your silt, you know, the silt fence along with the wattles. I don't know if I even read the wattles, just silt fence, I think. And it's just, it's not, it's very easy. I want to make the woman feel comfortable at her own home. I don't know if she's not on the Zoom, but she doesn't have too many people, so we're just trying to do the right thing and, so she doesn't have trouble. And, those trees are definitely, if you drive by and it was your home, you would take them down as well, if you could afford it, you know? Because it's just a tough job and she needs a hand, so that's what I'm doing. That's about it. You know, and as far as getting close to the water, oh, you are here, Ann. So, I mean, that's all. It doesn't really, it's just taking down trees. We're not gonna be grinding stumps. We're not gonna get that far yet. But if you do, I mean, I'm familiar with the whole, geez, what's the word I'm looking for? I just got a brain fart. As far as your silt fence, you know, your silt fence and your hay wattles. You know, I'm very familiar with the way you install them and whatnot. We'll make sure everything's clean and we don't damage, anything more than, we have to. You know what I mean?
Mike,
like-
you're muted.
Where are you?
Sorry. Mary, do you have any thoughts on this? I think you did write a report.
Yeah, I did
to the
write it.
Commission.
I'll share my screen on that.
Yeah.
So just to give the board an idea of what the trees involved are, there's 3 up here,
Mm,
these 3 large white pine, you know,
Then-
down next to the house. This
the
is the
birch.
house in question.
mm,
And that's just some of them. Again, here's the 3 white pine. And then along the shore, there was a bunch of smaller trees. And I think I picked all the right ones out of the picture here. These are the 3 big white pine again. And I believe that all the white pine on the left side of the property, that's staying, right? Did I miss something? There was one large white pine with a no trespassing sign on. Was that staying or going?
The ones on the left hand, well, if your back is to the house, the ones on the left are staying. She doesn't want to take down all the trees. We were just taking down the hazard. Can you
Right, okay,
Okay,
yep.
so you can hear me.
Yeah.
And eventually she would like to make something safe for her to be able to walk from her back door to that dock, so she can enjoy, you know, the pond. So I'd like to be able to bring some dirt in, and grade the area that we're taking these trees down, so she can actually enjoy her property. And it's gotta be taken down, you know, slow. We don't really have a road, so we're just gonna take it, it's not gonna be like dumped there with a dump truck but she would like to do that as well. So do I have to approach that after? Like after we do this, do I have to come in front of you as well again to get approved to put to put dirt in the backyard to grade it? Is that how it works? I'm not familiar.
Yeah, well, that, I guess it could have been part of this. I thought this was only for trees. And
It is
so-
only for trees, but I'm just talking about the
Yeah,
overall.
that
plan.
could have been part of this filing. Yeah, and we can discuss that potential tonight, you know, how much potential there is for that.
Okay,
Yeah, we can discuss that tonight. If the board were to approve something, we'd have to somehow add it. I think we could potentially add it into this determination and make include it in this filing, but yeah.
Okay, that'll be
There's a
cool.
bunch of, but we'll have to, maybe we should stick with the trees first and then.
yeah, that's what I
then
figured. I mean, we're not gonna do it
Move
obviously.
on to that.
Winter, it's gonna
Yeah.
come back towards the middle of spring when everything thaws, you know, between thawing out and in the saturation that we're gonna be dealing with at the end of the winter, so. Okay. Let's just deal with the trees then and that would be what we have to finish up.
And let me just show you, so this house, I did a little research on
Yeah.
the house and it was built, I think 2007 or something. Hopefully you guys
Mhm.
can see it. All All right, so it does, this plan does have those 3 large pine trees that you had slated to remove. And, you know, my kind of comments was on the large pines, and then the other large trees are over in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are large, they could certainly be a hazard.
And the
there's-
ones that are, yeah, yep.
And then there's one large, I think it's a birch
Birch, it is, and that one.
near the
that one-
deck. That one's that one's like 2 feet off the deck.
That
I'm
one's gotta
okay
go,
with-
yeah.
I'm okay with that going too, because that one's pretty large.
Hallelujah.
But all the ones, but if you'll notice on this plan, you see that there's a 30-foot protected area with minimal alteration to existing vegetation. And so that was, you know, for when the house was constructed. And I think the intent was that, you know, this area was to kind of remain wild to some extent. And that's why it's my recommendation to leave the little trees. Now, I know there's one like right in the middle here, you know, maybe that one could go, whatever, but I would recommend to leave the rest. It does call for a vista pruning area. So that's just kind of my recommendation on the trees. You certainly take the big ones, they're big, they do look dangerous, and they're gonna fall sometime. In fact, there was one that was down over here. But I would recommend to the board that we keep the little ones. They're all leaning towards the pond, so even as they grow, I don't think they're gonna get out of proportion or size. They may, but there's some kind of birch species. I don't see them getting huge like the white pine.
And any comments from the board on that suggestion?
This is Tom. I just have a question. I generally agree with what Mary said, but what is vista pruning? I mean, I know what a vista is and I know what pruning is, but I don't really understand how it works in this plan.
Well, I can try. Honestly, I don't remember this filing. It was quite a while ago, but in general, vista pruning would be pruning, in this case, pruning necessary so someone would have a view of the pond, you know, kind of an unobstructed view of the pond. And I would guess in this case, it would be more like the shrub layer, the lower vegetation that might obscure the water, say if someone was on the deck. I don't think I mean, those birch trees looked fairly well spaced. I don't know if that would be vista pruning or not, because you can see around them to see the pond pretty well.
Yeah, so I basically agree with Mary. I just didn't understand the vista pruning. If the vista pruning says they can take those down, then I would say then they could take them down. But if it's not that, then I would agree that they don't pose a hazard or anything.
That is a good question, Tom. Mary, is there well, so these are trees in question, and they seem to be leaning towards the pond, so there's probably not too much of a risk to structure. But I wonder if are there any notes that describe anything more about vista pruning in the plan, the approved plan?
No, that was pretty much it. And I think it may be referring to the act, you know, it talks about the wetlands, you know, vista pruning. And I think in this case, you know, there is a view here. And the deck is actually high. I'm standing underneath it. It's like 10 or 12 feet off the ground. It's a high deck, although there may be a view from the basement as well. But yeah, I mean, if you wanted only this one tree in the middle, you know, that would, you know, create an unobstructed vista. And I guess the board, you know, if they're looking for access to the dock, which is another issue, you know, maybe a path or, you know, like a 3-foot wide, you know, could be constructed, you know, out of pavers or whatever. That's, you know, another thing for the board to decide. But this is the current view, and you can tell it's not lawn here. It's just, you know, somebody goes through and trims down the shrubs all the time because they're very low. You can tell they would be growing higher if they weren't maintained at a low level. So.
Okay, thanks. So let's see, do we have a consensus to issue a negative determination for the tree removal, for certain trees. The trees that are clearly hazard trees, leaving some others. And then, perhaps asking for another determination, if, there's for future plans for, maybe a walkway or placement of some fill, near the pond. Does that sound reasonable to people?
As to
Yes.
me,
So, how does that sound to everyone else? To the applicant, are you okay with that? That we pull back on the tree
We
clearing?
lost David, but he's okay with that. I have him on the phone.
Okay, so we'll pull back on the tree clearing and focus on the hazard trees, those big
Oh,
pines.
so, okay, so we're not getting 100% on what we're asking for, but we're getting partial. Is that what you're saying,
Well,
Mike?
that's what I'm kind of asking the commission and throwing that out as a suggestion. And I don't know, from Mary, what do you think? Do you think we should allow all these trees to be removed, or maybe scale back some?
Well, I think with with the original plans, just asking for that 30-foot kind of minimal vegetation disturbance area, I think that gives us a precedent to keep some of these smaller trees. And if you look around the pond, a lot of the houses have like a tree buffer between the house and the pond. There's a few that are like open lawn type thing, but I think it's in character with the other houses that are around there.
Okay.
So I apologize for that. I lost the battery on the laptop. So, so what was the end result? So we want to keep the ones that are the smaller trees around the pond because of the regulations with the 30-foot of SOAR, right? Is that what it was? I wasn't.
Well, that's one suggestion, and the larger trees, the pines, would go.
Yes.
And I think that is it a birch? The birch that's right in
In the center of
middle
the house.
current. Yeah, that one would go.
Well,
And then I don't know, what about the one to the left of it?
to the left. So that was the idea.
That
So
one,
she was
that one.
sitting in the back, she could actually enjoy her property. And I mean, the smaller ones, I'm sure she'd be okay with it, obviously. And, but those two would be nice to go. And, whatever you let us do, I mean,
Okay.
it would be nice. So everything that was marked, was as planned. So
Okay.
you have to abide by the rules that you guys created. And that's the easiest way to do things,
Okay, well, could I have a motion from the commission, from someone in the commission? To issue a negative determination with some conditions?
so moved.
What
Second.
happened?
Okay, and so, some discussion, I guess it would be conditioned to retain those 6 small ones that are shown on this plan.
Okay.
Right there and right there.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
and then, I personally would be okay with the 2 towards the middle,
Wonderful.
and then the large pines near the house.
And then the hazards that are at the house. Yeah, that's
Right,
terrific.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Is that okay for the commission?
I appreciate that.
Any
Good with
commissioner?
me.
Okay, so that's what, Mary, if you could structure a negative determination to memorialize that. And then, is there any further discussion?
No, I thank you for your time. It's my first Zoom call I've ever had in my life. So
You did pretty well.
I swear to God, it really is. I mean, I'm used to face-to-face conversations, sitting down, having, it's easier for me. So I'm not that good at this. So I apologize.
No, you
My
did
ability.
fine. You did fine.
But thank you.
We've had some interesting experiences with Zoom over the years.
Yeah, no, this is definitely in my entire life, I've never been on a Zoom call, and my friend's helping me with it. And the laptop ended up going dead, so it's pretty funny, but not really. But thank you for your patience and your time, and yeah, that'll work. I think we're great. Everything's in order.
Okay.
So I can go ahead with it and thanks again. What is
Yes,
there, what
thanks,
else do I
thanks,
have to
and-
do to verify this? Nothing?
Well,
Well,
just
let
wait
me-
till, I'll give you some paperwork. Wait till you
Yeah.
get to the paperwork.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mary will, we're
Easy
gonna,
peasy.
we still have to vote, but Mary will issue what's called a negative determination with a couple of conditions.
Okay.
And once you receive that, you'll be good to go.
All right.
And Ann, I saw your note, thank you. So anyway, we still need to vote, so
Wonderful.
any more discussion on the motion from the commission? If not, voice vote, please, to issue a
Aye.
negative to.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
Okay, I think that's everybody. All right. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
everybody.
grazie.
Okay, night.
Ciao. Take it easy.
Okay,
One and
it's
two.
7:47. We have an NOI for a septic system at 7:50. Mary, can you have a few minutes to get back to the administrator's report?
Yeah, another project from the past came in, 5A Wildwood Ave, which was a septic system on Lake Wildwood. And I guess one of the requirements for that project was directional drilling to pipe the pipes for the septic, because the septic is very far from the house or the cabin. It was going to be on the other side of the wetland, and I guess it had been put in the plans to put the pipes underneath the wetland, and that was going to be done with directional drilling. And they went into looking into getting directional drilling done, and I guess it's usually done for commercial applications and not residential applications, and it was going to cost something like $35,000. And so they came to me and said, "Can't we do something else?" And so their proposal was instead to take the pipe, and now there is a road, a dirt road, which is the driveway, take that pipe and put it under the road instead of going under the wetland and get to that area that way. So I told them that that was probably a good suggestion, and that they needed to come up with new plans though, and do an amendment to get that change. So that's an update there on that one.
Okay. Well, sounds good, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're at 7:50, so is there a public notice for this 12 Stoddard Street NOI that you can read?
Yeah, so notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, January 24th, 7:50 p.m. Notice of intent filed by Lorville Santos for the replacement of a failed cesspool with a Title V septic system. And just some background, I'm not sure if there's anyone here from that project. We had previously approved this, but it was discovered that not all of the abutters were notified. So we're simply redoing the hearing so we provide proper abutter notification. And it looks like
Dan McIntyre here, representing the homeowner.
so I guess we could do, I don't know, are there any abutters for this project that are interested in seeing the plans and would like to see the presentation?
Sure, this is Amy Correa across the street at 98 High.
Okay.
Okay, well, great. Dan, could you please describe the project? And one of you, either Mary or Dan, maybe you could share the site plan.
I can share it here. So. So for the record, Dan McIntyre representing Lorville Santos. As Mary mentioned, we made this presentation probably a month or so ago now. Commission approved it, but we found out that this lot is actually comprised of two separate parcels, and the certified list of abutters that we received from the town was only from one of those parcels. So we obtained a new certified list of butters to cover both parcels and re-notified everyone. So what we're proposing to do is take the existing house and replace its septic system. This is Stoddard Street up toward the top of the plan, High Street over on the left-hand side. Existing house in the middle, and it's currently served by a cesspool over in this area here, right on the edge of the wetlands. We did soil testing kind of on both sides of the house. Over on this side near High Street, I hate to even describe it as soil. It was mostly rock and clay silt. It wasn't really suitable for a septic system at all. We excavated test pits on this side and we found some nice, beautiful gravels. So it's really perfect for a septic system over here. So we're proposing to put in a conventional septic system here, new septic tank. And in order to separate ourselves from the wetlands and protect the wetlands, we're proposing to put a retaining wall right along here so we can level this area off to construct the septic system. Excuse me. In addition to the septic system construction, there'll be a small addition off the back of the house and side of the house. I think to enlarge the kitchen here, I believe. Those are the main components of the work. We also have some wetland restoration over here, or a buffer zone restoration, really. As you recall, Lorville got a little ahead of himself over here and started doing work and kind of disrupted that buffer zone. So we're restoring that with some plantings. In addition, we're putting in kind of a line of boulders here to prevent further encroachment into this buffer area and protect the wetlands. And I think with that, I could probably turn it over to any questions.
Okay, any questions from the commission, first of all? As you mentioned, we already did hold a hearing on this. So if there's no questions from the commissioners, any questions from anyone in the public, any butters or anyone else who has questions about
I was
this, that
just-
they could direct to Dan?
Sure. This is Amy again. Just curious if they have already picked a company to actually do the excavation and building the septic.
No, they have not. They're out getting pricing now.
You know what I said?
Do you know of someone that wants to do it?
I'm not sure if Mike remembers, but over at 98, we have an interesting septic. And so we had to put they had to put a pump, 2 separate tanks, and run the pipe underneath the brook to the leach fields, usually I think it was about 100 feet back up into the backyard. So we had gone with somebody that we knew was really familiar with the wetlands, and we knew we were comfortable with what their knowledge. They weren't the cheapest, but they did the best.
Okay.
That was that's Barrows in Upton.
Oh, yeah, I know Glenn. Okay.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
believe-
Glenn. Yeah, he did an awesome job.
Actually, I think that might be one of the contractors that are bidding on this.
Yeah, we preferred him just because he knows the wetlands really well. He's a civil engineer and he knows that area as far as when it comes to, what he's digging for.
Yeah, I know Glenn, so we can talk to him.
But yeah, we're definitely in support of it since we've been through the same thing.
Great.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Any other comments? Anybody? If not, I entertain a motion to close this hearing and issue a order of conditions.
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion from the commission?
I would just like to note that I did prepare an order of conditions, and I think I included it in the packet, but I didn't send it out separately. If you guys are willing to vote on that tonight, then we can get it out to Lorville, maybe even tomorrow. So,
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. So, voice vote on issuing a order of conditions allowing this work to.
So
aye.
moved. Oh,
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
All right, well, thank you, Dan.
All right, thank you very much.
So we'll, a little bit later this evening, we'll look over Mary's draft order and then she'll get you some paperwork soon.
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're not quite at 8 o'clock. Is there anyone here from Upton Ridge to discuss the CR and baseline report today? Or Mark's on, I see Mark.
Yeah, hi, Mike. Yeah, I'm here, and Mike Rosati is here, our engineer.
Okay.
great, and I think there might be someone planning on coming from the homeowners association as well.
Okay. Well, let's give it another couple minutes. It's 7:58 by my clock.
Yeah, it looks like there's 3 trustees from the Upton Ridge Association here.
Okay. Mary, anything else to cover in a couple minutes? We're 8.
Hi, Bob. Good to see you.
Yeah, I can just make a quick note about, I think I emailed this to Mike and Chris, but if you guys remember, we approved an emergency cert for culvert replacement under Route 140 near 44 Milford Street, near the intersection of 140 with Prospect Street. When I sent that up to DEP, they thought perhaps that should be an after the fact notice of intent. And I reached out to DOT, letting them know that that was their, that's what the state had said, state DEP. The people at DOT thought because they're doing a full NOI in 3 years for a full culvert replacement, this was just a repair, that they hoped that they would not need to do anything now. And I believe that I haven't heard anything else back from DEP, so I believe we're leaving it at that in 3 years, there will be a full notice of intent for that culvert replacement. That's update on that.
So the work was completed, and if I remember right, Mary, you were on site and they did a nice job.
Yeah.
Protecting resources.
They did.
Okay. All right, thanks. Okay, so we're at 8 o'clock now. So on the agenda is a discussion about the Upton Ridge certificate compliance and the baseline report, and I guess the conservation restriction would be wrapped up into that. So, Mark, could you give us an update?
Yeah, so good evening. My name is Mark Mastriani. I'm here from Pulte Homes. And as far as an update on the CR, I actually have positive news. I did receive last week comments from Sherry Wittes of EOEEA on the CR that we submitted over a year ago. So that's actually a giant step, and that's what we've been hoping for. So I honestly have not had a chance to go through the comments with our attorney, but we have I have a meeting set up with him tomorrow, and we're going to go over the comments. They do not look anything significant. And Sherry also suggested that if we would like, we could actually set up a time and with her and go through the comments together. So that's good news. So that's the CR document. And then as far as the baseline report, we went back and forth with the commission last year a ton. And as far as so the last revision date of the baseline document is January 2023. And I think that is, from our perspective, final and complete. I did send it over to the commission a month ago in December when we were working together. So you should have the latest. If you don't, I can certainly email it again. But so we do have a baseline document. It's pretty comprehensive. It addressed, I think, a lot of your comments from the past. So that's ready to go. And then, so that's the CR and the baseline update. We can take questions or talk about that, or Mike Rosati is here and can answer any questions you may have on the certificate of compliance.
I think one of the comments with the baseline report, and I did look through it today just to make sure that hadn't been addressed, is Mike, I believe you wanted pictures of each of the
Each of the
markers,
bounds, yes. Yeah.
and that is not included in it. The markers are in, I believe.
Okay, so like a picture into the open space conservation area from each bound.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's a it's pretty much a standard practice for baseline reports.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we could do that. I'm just trying to think of the snow and the weather out there. If it'd be better to wait to
Yeah, I would wait till the snow is melted.
yeah, okay.
You know, if the baseline, ideally baseline reports are done at the time the CR is signed and recorded. But I don't know how far away we are from that. Probably a little way.
Well, not too long, hopefully. I mean, hopefully the comments from EOEA are not objectionable to either us or you. And then we can finalize it, and then the signature process takes a little bit of time. I think you go first, and then, or maybe we go first and then you go, and then it would go to the state for final signature. So once I go through the comments with my legal, I'll send, I can send over the email to you now anyways. Actually, there's no reason for you not to have it, so I'll send it to you right now.
Thank you. And then once you've made any edits based on the state's comments, get that to us. And then I think the next thing to do would be to review that, get that to town council, then would have to be on the select board's agenda for them to have a discussion and then vote to sign the CR. I don't think that the commission doesn't have to sign this one. Or do we, Mary? I think we do, actually.
I think you do.
We do,
Yeah,
and the board
Concom
does.
and the selectmen do.
Yeah.
And then the state does.
'Cause the commission's the grantee here. So, okay. Well, that's great. Congratulations on getting a response back from the state.
Well,
There are probably well over 100 other CRs that maybe aren't quite as far along. Literally, there's a big backlog. So, okay. So, in terms of certificate of compliance, Mary, any issues related to that other than the CR?
Though there's a wetland replication area, and I think it calls for 2 years worth of reports, and I think we just have 1 year's worth of reports. So I think we just need another set of, either they were done and they weren't got to us, or they just haven't been done yet.
Mike, are you able to get off mute and comment on that? We don't hear Mike. He says, I can't unmute my computer. Let me see if I can call him.
Is he under Deb Rosati?
He is, yeah.
See if this helps.
Grace or Mary, can you unmute him?
I think he has to do it himself, but I can ask him to unmute.
Technology. Hey, Mike, hey, I'm gonna put you on speaker. That work? You're gonna have to talk loud, though. All right, hold on. All right, Mike, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, so you're in the meeting.
Very frustrating, sorry. So relative to the restoration area, I spoke with Scott Fisher, who was in charge of getting us the reports. So in his mind, he felt that the replication area was done in the spring of 2020. And he went through the growing season that fall, spring of 21, and then did a report in September of 21, monitoring and giving a final report of the restoration area. And he thought that was sufficient, but if it's not, I can try and get him out to look at it again.
I think I noticed in the last report that he sent out that I think it said that there will be, and maybe this was a mistake, but there would be another report the following year, the final one. So that's.
He told me he was on site in October of the same year of 21, just replacing some dead plants, I think down by the bridge. But he didn't generate a report.
Okay.
So I was going to say, I think the area next to the bridge, which is on the right side as we cross from Hartford Road, was being mowed by the contractor.
Right. Yep.
And Mark, we spoke about that. I don't know if you've had any communication with the Dartmouth group about that.
I don't think I did. So,
Okay, so we got to, obviously they're not mowing the lawn right now.
Right.
So in the spring, you have to make sure they don't start doing that again.
you'd have to show me the area, and then we could communicate that to the trustees that are on this call.
Yeah, I can flag it. So then I think we had on our list of us other things to do was get rid of the silt fence and get that removed, and we're waiting on the contractor to do that. Obviously, I also have to prepare as-built, and I've been told that we should have that any day now.
Any punch list stuff due in the spring, Mike?
No, I think we're good with the order.
Okay. Well, should we, Mark and Mike, should we continue discussion for maybe a month or so? That would maybe give us time to get a little further down the road in the CR, and then also have Scott Fisher prepare hopefully a final report on the restoration area. Does that sound good?
I'm wondering if it doesn't make sense to wait till the snow is gone, so we can look at it a little bit more.
Yeah, this, the way this winter's been going, there might be some snow-free opportunities coming up.
Yeah, so we're fine with that, Mike. Do you suggest March
Yeah.
meeting?
Appropriate.
Yeah. A month from now. So second meeting in March.
That's fine with me. And in the meantime, I sent you the conservation restriction comments, and and we can communicate over email on if you have any comments and what the, you know, how that proceeds.
That sounds good. Yeah, and we'll get town council involved and the select board. Try to
Great.
keep that moving.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody from Upton Ridge.
Thanks, Mike.
Good evening. Okay. Back to Mary. Got a few minutes to the next agenda item.
Let's see here. I'll just share my screen for the agent report. Just a few other pictures. I did go out to 22 Eames Lane. And I think the engineer had staked that 30-foot no disturb, these two stakes here. I don't know if he did more. Those are the only ones I could find. But it does, you know, the snow covered area is the area of disturbance. So he will have, you know, quite a bit of fill to kind of move around, and it gives him, I'm not sure whether it really gives him enough room to drive around his barn or not with a vehicle. But that's, and that is obviously tabled till spring, until the ground is thawed and he can work in there. And just for those of you who've been driving around on Hopkinton Road, this is at the corner of Cider Mill. They cleared the lot here. This does have wetland resources, but supposedly all the work is more than 100 feet away. They did submit an erosion and control plan with me, but that work has started. So that's pretty much it for pictures.
Okay, well, thanks, Mary. We can move on to the RDA for repaving and maintenance of sections of Route 140 by the Mass DOT. Is there anyone here representing the Mass DOT?
Hello, good evening, commissioners. My name is Nicole Perlat from Epsilon Associates, and I'm prepared to present this project for you guys.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Mary, could you please read the RDA?
And notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetland Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, January 24th, 8:15 p.m. A request for determination filed by the Massachusetts Department of Transportation for the milling and paving, draining structure maintenance and repairs, and guardrail replacement along a 1.4 mile section of West Main Street and a 2.2 mile section of Milford Street, all on Route 140.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Nicole, could you present your project, perhaps share your screen with a plan?
Yes, absolutely. So good evening, commissioners. My name is Nicole Perlat from Epsilon Associates. Also on the call today, we have Kevin Thompson from Mass Department of Transportation, and also Alyssa Jacobs, also from Epsilon Associates, just to be prepared to answer any questions you guys may have about the project. So the project is a roadway improvement project by Mass DOT. I will share my screen and show you some maps that were submitted along with the project application. So the first map set I have here is showing the wetland resource areas of the project. So the project itself, it consists of repaving, some drainage repairs and guardrail repairs. All of this work is within the roadways. And so this map shows the two different sections of the project. So the first section of the project is over, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but over here on the east side, I'm sorry, the west side of Upton. bordering Grafton, and actually the entirety of the project extends into Grafton. But of course, we're just talking about the Upton portion tonight. So there's 1.4 miles in this section, 1 and 2 over here on the west side, and then on the east side of Grafton, of Upton, all in 140. That goes all the way to the border of Hopedale. That section is 1.2 miles. And so there's some mapping here that shows the wetland resource areas, including riverfront area. The green dashed line is the 100-foot buffer zone. So as you can see, we do have some work within the buffer zone. And I know it's a little bit hectic of a map, but if you bear with me, yeah, there's a lot of information on here. So there's some riverfront area as well along these maps. Then I also just want to mention this little red circle here on the map is an additional wetland that was pointed out to us by conservation staff. So we will be including that in our project. And so we will be including sediment control in that area as well. So I can also show a second map here, which shows, so this map, as you can see, shows both Grafton and Upton. So again, some of our project is extending into Grafton. The Upton portion would be the first section of it, would be down here. And these little orange lines are the sediment control barriers, the locations where we propose to put those barriers between the work in the roadway and the wetland resource areas. As far as the type of sediment controls, we'd be deferring to Mass DOT standards, most likely compost filler tubes. And then again, here's the eastern section of Upton, and the red circle again being the wetland resource area. Additionally, that was pointed out. So we would put an additional sediment control barrier between the roadway and that area. And so we're requesting a determination of applicability. We are requesting a negative determination of applicability for as far as whether or not we need to submit an NOI. So I will stop sharing and answer any questions.
Mary, do you have any comments on this RDA?
Yeah, this is the activity is exempt for the most part, and so I think as long as erosion controls are installed, I think it they'll and taken care of. Now, does Mass DOT, when they're done with the project, do they pull all the erosion controls when they're done, or do they leave them?
I believe they would pull them. Kevin, I don't know if you know the answer to that, but what the standard practice is.
That's typically left up to the specific contractor. Sorry if my mic's loud. But the standard practice is to pull the erosion control barriers, but we can make changes based on what the Conservation Commission would like.
Hi, excuse me. Tracy Capillotti, Mass DOT. And I just wanted to state that with our compost filter tubes, typically now we have them cut them open and spread the material that's left just to, even it out, spread it in the area, and just let it go back to natural.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And are the is the material on the outside typically biodegradable on those?
Yes. Yep.
Great.
And the compost tubes don't have any plastic mesh?
No, we don't allow that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and this is going to have a lot of erosion controls. I know, typically I inspect erosion controls. I noticed that they were requesting a -2, which would just kind of mean it's negative. I'm not, and no more involvement. We just approve it pretty much. And I trust it's the state. They'll do a good job in installing the erosion controls, appropriately. Yes.
Any comments or questions from the commission? How about the public? Is there anyone from the public who wants to comment on this? All right, hearing none, entertain a motion to issue a negative to determination for this work.
So moved.
Second,
Any further discussion? Okay, voice vote, please.
aye.
Alan, I.
David, aye.
Sandy, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
Okay, that's everybody. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay, thanks. Take care.
Thank you.
Ready, see the 8:45 Governor's Landing, I believe that's going to be continued, correct, Mary?
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
that was our last hearing of the evening, so we can go back to admin report and the list of general business items.
Do you want to, let's make a motion, actually for that one, I wonder if we need to open it and then continue it because it's not officially opened yet.
Oh, sure. Oh, it's not officially open yet, so no. Well, oh, good question. I mean, they don't want a public notice it again, so
Right.
we should probably open it and
So
continue.
wait to 8:45 and then open it. And then
Okay, yep. Does somebody remember that?
yes.
Okay, thanks, Mary.
Yep.
Good point.
Yeah, I just had one more comment from my agent's report. If you guys remember, we were going back and forth with a 17 School Street project. And we did a little bit more research. The neighbor had called to complain and about how Bill, in doing his installing his sewer connection, that he may have crushed an existing drainage pipe or ruined a pipe. And Bill is, yes, very much, yes, there was a pipe there. And we found a few plans for it. And so Bill is definitely wants to, do the right thing, put it back in, doesn't want his neighbor's lawn to be flooded. And he just spoke about, potentially just hand digging a trench, not using any machinery and installing the pipe and just doing it that way. Not involving any engineers or anything like that. The previous pipe, I don't think had any engineering work done. It was done many years ago. So the wetland area has been recently disturbed from Bill installing his own sewer pipe. It has not, obviously has not had a chance to reseed or anything. So this is just kind of see what the commission thinks about Bill digging up a trench and putting that pipe in to hopefully improve situation. The neighbor had been getting water in his basement as a result of the recent rainstorms, but he had not gotten any water all summer. So I think the conclusion is that it probably was a result of the pipe being disrupted when Bill did his work. I don't know, a couple months ago.
How big is this pipe?
I think it's 4 or 6 inches. It's not a huge pipe.
Is there any point in putting in a larger one in anticipation of bigger storms or anything, as long as you're doing it or he's doing it?
Well, I guess it's interesting because the pipe is kind of draining, acting as making sure the wetland doesn't get too big. So yeah, I guess we could look into sizing it properly. If you make it too big, then the wetland dries up, or I don't know. This is a kind of a, I mean, Bill's point when he looked at the pipe was that he thought it had a fair bit of sediment in it. He wasn't sure that it had been doing anything, but on the other hand, we have the evidence that the neighbor had not had flooding for 20 years and all of a sudden he's getting flooding.
So, Mary, where will the pipe go? Where does it discharge?
So it discharges right in the right next, there's kind of an open area next to the road. It's like a hole, really, a kind of a ditch. And then apparently there is a culvert under the road, which was noted on the Allen Engineering plans. Unfortunately, Allen Engineering did not know about this pipe's existence, so it was not ever shown. And so it is an open area that it discharges to. It doesn't directly connect in with the town pipe or anything. And we're not sure, again, how much water it had been carrying, but apparently some.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission on this situation? Any objections?
Any
Oh, go ahead.
concern, if Bill does it himself, is this one of those jobs that you really should have a professional or somebody who someone that can answer to, if something goes wrong with it? I don't want this to turn into something that hangs over Bill if it isn't correctly installed or something.
This is Bill Taylor. I have a question. So I'm assuming this pipe runs from 10 Warren. And does it run across the Grant property?
Right.
Into Bill's property? Is that how that works?
And yes, so I talked to Bill about this and to John about this because Bill's only willing to do whatever he disturbed on his property. He's not touching the property in the middle. And John thought that was going to be sufficient. And remember, Bill did not disturb anything on that other property. He was only working on his property. We'd have to hope that he's going to have to discover the rest of that pipe wherever, the rest of the pipe must be intact because the plans kind of look like it goes across that other property somehow. So that's going to be the tricky part. Can he find the end to that pipe? And how much digging is he going to have to do to figure that out?
And then he's got to connect the new section to the existing section.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's more complicated.
This is not I don't know. I think Bill was a little gun shy from getting the engineers back because when we had him, do that other little change, he said, "Oh, that was $2,500 just whatever, just that little change of, the pipe had been going along the road and then we let him put it across the wetland and that was his experience. That was what he said. Anyhow.
So is there actually an easement on Bill's property for the pipe?
Another good point. I don't think so. This is all like a neighbor deal that was done 30 years ago or whatever. So.
Well, I guess the bottom line, however, is that I guess the commission's interest in this is the wetland itself.
Yeah.
Not the arrangement that Bill and Harvey and John have.
Right.
So they would need to get together and decide who is going to do what, and then come back to the commission and say, this is what we're proposing, or is that Bill is essentially saying, I'm willing to dig at French on my property and put a new pipe in it?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Okay.
So
that may or may not solve the problem.
Right.
Depending on the condition of the rest of the pipe.
Exactly.
Okay.
I also have to wonder if, we've had these extreme rains like the last few weeks. Is this the period during which the neighbors seeing flooding? I mean, we're all seeing flooding. It may not have anything to do with this pipe.
Right, and that I'm perfectly aware of that. I think the only thing that made me think it might have something to do with the pipe is because we had this rain all summer too, and he said there was no issues then. So I guess that's the only,
We didn't have rain like we did
Hmm.
the last couple of weeks, a few weeks.
Yeah,
I've never
those last
seen
two
that.
storms were something on the order of 5 to 10 year events.
yeah.
So they were kind of rare. Mary, I have a question. What is the existing pipe? Is it corrugated or is it
That I
ceramic? Do we
I
know?
think it's potentially corrugated. I believe it was corrugated. There may have been some ceramic pieces too, though. And maybe we should get Bill on. And I guess I
And
took that,
he's proposing to replace it with PVC. Probably.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And we could suggest that they at least wait a few months and see how things pan out. But
Well, I think he would probably want to do this work during the dry season anyway.
right.
He's not going to be mucking around in March. I would not recommend that. The only thing I just want to say, I haven't been able to find it yet, but I my mind is working reasonably well, which is sometimes debatable. I think this lot 110 there's a plan somewhere that shows it actually being a detention basin, and that plan probably dates from the early 1900s. But so far we haven't been able to unearth one. I have another source I'm going to look through some files and see if we can find it, but I'm not sure it really matters much. But just for for information, I believe that lot was established long ago as to handle runoff before people really thought about what runoff was. And Bill Taylor, you've checked with DPW, Johnny Johnson, and the town's culvert, the one that goes under School Street, is functioning well.
It's definitely functioning. John, the owner of 10 Warren, told me there was sediment, which was obstructing some degree of flow, but there's definitely flow under School Street.
Is there anything the DPW could do to improve the flow, do you think?
This all happened and then John was out and we had the storm. So I don't think John has had a chance to go and confirm whether or not there is actually sediment there that's obstructing the flow. But if there is, my guess is they'll clear it. And that shouldn't be an issue, and it may help. At least John, the owner of 10 Warren, thought it would.
Okay. Well, that's good information. I hope the DPW can take a look at that soon and do any sediment removal that's needed.
Yeah, so 10 Warren said that he had at one point made an effort to clear it on his own. And I don't know, he kind of described he got the evil eye from the neighbor on that side of School Street. So in any case, if it's obstructed and it's a DPW culvert, they'll clear it.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion on this one? So I guess that Mary, advice to Bill would be, if I'm hearing everything correctly, would be to allow him to replace this culvert, advise that he wait till drier conditions, and let him know that the DPW is going to be taking a look at the town's culvert, the condition of the town's culvert, and maintain it if needed. Does that capture everything? I think. I hope.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Is that it for the admin report, Mary? Or...
It's the only other note is the budget stuff. Chris and I had received an email from Joe. He wanted to drop our 1,600 expense line to 1,000 to just kind of make some more space in his budget. I did meet with Joe and talked a little bit more about what's included in that, and the MACC memberships we pay for out of that, et cetera, and our S3 fee, and why he was thinking it was just office supplies, and no, it's not. It's more than that. But also did talk to him about the fact that I don't think there's been no draw on the Wetlands Protection Act money or the Wetland Upton bylaw money for paying myself or Grace for this whole last year. And so when I told him that, his eyes lit up, and he's trying to make space. And I think he was going to talk to Kenny in the FinCom. So we may keep our 1,600 line item and then just pull some money from some different places. So
our budget's been level funded for quite a few years, I think. So
yeah,
I might mention that.
Yeah.
Was there discussion about the Conservation Fund article?
Oh, yes. And
Our
so
usual $5,000 request?
yeah, I checked he sent out a draft of all the items, and that was included in the draft. So yep, that's on there. That was all I had.
Okay, Grace, administrative report. Meeting minutes.
We have 3 sets of meeting minutes. The first one is from the previous meeting, January 10th.
Anyone have any comments on those minutes? Have a motion to accept them as written.
So moved.
Moved. Second.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Hearing none, voice vote, please.
Tom abstain.
Alan, I.
David,
Say aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
Thank you, Grace. And then the other 2 minutes were back from last year. Those were the 2 dates where no one took minutes because we had staffing changes, and also the recordings no longer exist or are accessible. So what Grace did was just write a note to that effect, and then attach the agenda and the meeting packets for both of those. And Grace, what are the dates of those 2?
The first one is July 13th, 2022, and the second is July 27th, 2022.
Okay, I entertain a motion to approve those documents in lieu of minutes for those 2 meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, voice vote, please.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
All right, thanks, Grace. Expense vouchers and financial update.
Tonight, we just have to approve reimbursement for Mary's mileage.
Do I have a motion to approve this expense voucher for $11.66?
Second.
So moved.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, voice vote, please.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, aye.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
Okay, thank you.
And then here is our balance sheet.
Yeah, Grace, I would suggest adding one thing for the next meeting under obligations for the Lake Wildwood appraisal, up to $10,000 from the Conservation Fund. That was voted on last at our last meeting. Any other comments on this and questions? All right. Thanks, Grace. So we're up to the Open Space Committee update, Mr. Taylor.
Yep. So speaking of the Lake Wildwood appraisal, Mike sent out requests for quotes for proposals. I don't have it. It was like about 8 different appraisers. I think we've gotten a response from one who intends to quote, and a response from 3 that they don't intend to quote. That's and those are due by the 29th. And the other thing that we've done from a Lake Wildwood perspective is I had information, indirect comments from the owners that they're very anxious to sell. So I believe that time is of the essence. And to that end, we have Mike drafted a placeholder warrant article for the Maytown meeting. And we'll be meeting with the Community Preservation Committee to talk about adding that to the Maytown meeting, funding for that. The Open Space Committee will be meeting tomorrow night to talk more about funding for that acquisition. Other than that, the Mechanic Street land is on the market. Had a conversation or 2 with the realtor who's representing the sellers, letting them know what we're able to do, the town is able to do, is essentially buy the back land for $60,000. I've not heard anything since then. And so I did have a brief conversation with Daniel Lamb, who's the associated as the father of Grace at Five Fork Farm. In any case, apparently they were considering maybe buying that land, but I think it's the asking price is well above what they're thinking about. So I don't think that's going to go anywhere. And that's it for this evening. Does anybody have any questions? I'm all set then.
Thanks, Bill. Okay. Marcella, Land Stewardship Committee update.
Yeah, regarding the Mechanic Street and Fowler Street parking areas, I did meet with the planning board last night, and they really didn't see any issues. The change of use, that didn't seem to be an issue. The setbacks from the abutters wasn't an issue. Basically, they said we should talk to the various entities that are going to be, going to be taking care of things if things go wrong, like the police department and the fire department, DPW. And I believe that Dennis and I think someone from the fire department also had a chance to weigh in, and they just expressed, Dennis didn't seem to think that there was any issue with sight lines. And as far as the fire department goes, they just want to make sure that an emergency vehicle can get in there easily when so they don't have to park the emergency vehicles on the road. So that is their biggest concern. And I think they're largely talking about ambulance. I don't know how big a fire truck vehicle they'd be able to get in there, but I should definitely find out what, if there's a vehicle that would fit in there, that is a fire truck. I'm not sure it's practical, but I want to be sure that as long as they can get an ambulance in there, I think that is the biggest concern, is that if somebody gets hurt, they want to be able to take care of that without endangering the EMTs. They didn't seem to feel that we need an engineered plan, but that doesn't mean that we can't do it. You know, they were fine with 4 spaces on a gravel, the gravel parking lot. The DPW isn't requiring us to put an apron in, so whatever we do there is really up to us as far as grading and leveling the parking area. So I think that about sums that up. I don't know if anyone's got questions about it.
Marcella, would there be any plans to have those regularly plowed in the winter, or have you thought about this?
We haven't discussed it. We do have the parking lot over by Peppercorn off of East Street. That we have Greg Trussell plow that for us. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd be happy to do this one as well. I haven't really discussed anything regarding having the DPW take care of it. They typically don't. I don't even know now if they're doing Stephens, but I kind of like knowing that it's under our control. So that's it. It really doesn't stand anywhere. We haven't discussed it, but those are some possibilities.
Okay, sorry.
So I did talk to Dennis about it being a snow and ice expense and operation, and essentially he said we could sign Greg up, and but we'd have to sign him up under the terms and the conditions the rest of the contractors are under, and they get paid on an hourly basis. So we'd have to do some work to essentially pay somebody the same rate in a way that mimics what the contractors who do the streets get paid. I don't know what that looks like right now, but I think it could get done. There just has to be some work to be sure that the pay rate is equitable.
Okay, and I take it that if Greg does sign on to do this, he needs to, he's already demonstrated to us that he's got insurance and all that, but does the DPW require anything beyond that?
Well, there's a contract which basically says you have to provide insurance, and there's other language in there about respecting the call outs and so on. And then really, no, it wouldn't be much different from whatever contract he's already agreed to, or whatever terms he's already agreed to. So I don't think that would be an issue. And conceivably, he could sign up to do more work for the town, which might be something he could be interested in.
So if we mention this to him, would he simply get in touch with the DPW to follow through with that?
Well, don't do that yet. I still need to sit down with Dennis and decide how you would pay somebody exclusively to clear a handful of conservation lots.
Hey, Bill, this is Tom. Is it possible for them to just use one of the guys that are plowing now to do it?
It's conceivable. However, I think we were looking to be sure that it got done, and the existing staff or contractor group basically runs full out while they're on the roads. It's possible.
Yeah, Rockwood is a sensitive one. We don't want to get have issues again with Rockwood Meadows Association. That one has to be plowed basically as soon as possible, or people may start the public may start using the parking area by the Rockwood Meadows Community Center there. And that's what got us into trouble a few years ago. So,
But the DPW, I think in the past, they have said they would do the plowing, but it's not a priority. It's like the very last
Yeah.
thing on the list.
yeah,
So
and
what-
that's
to my
the Rockwood needs to be, that's why we kind of went with Greg in the past is because theoretically, he understands it's a high priority event, not, we don't want it to wait 2 or 3 days before it gets plowed.
Right, and I think there's a path to getting somebody like Greg to do that and having it get paid out of the snow and ice budget. It sounds feasible, and the only thing that Dennis was concerned about in terms of Rockwood Meadows was, and this would be true for us as well, was that we had an easement on that land, and we do.
We do, yeah.
Yeah. So that issue is off the board. So at this point, like I said, I think it's just a matter of agreeing on how we would contract with somebody to do that work.
So I guess it's a discussion for sometime maybe in the summer, or because
Yeah, at this point I would wait, and we're
this winter,
about halfway through the season at this
right,
point.
right.
But yeah, so sometime after the season, it's summer, early fall, we'd have to sit down and just come up with basically a compensation scheme, like I said, which is just equitable with the rest of the contractor community.
Okay.
And Mike, what is your feeling about having engineered plans?
I'm willing to submit, I guess, when the notice of intent without engineered drawings. I'd also like to, take a shot and also, include in that notice of intent a small replication area. And I think the replication area construction could probably be described verbally fairly extensively, and hopefully that would be sufficient if the DP reviews this. And if not, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I can start working on that NOI pretty quickly. The one thing I thought about the parking area though was, Greg Burrows was mentioned earlier. I think it might be a good idea to contact him and ask him to take a look at this area and basically suggest how it would be constructed, how much gravel you put down. So we have some ideas, what work will be done. He did the parking area for us at Sweet William Farm, Five Forks Farm.
And he did a
he's
great
local.
job with the
He's
drainage.
local. Pardon?
He did a great job managing the drainage.
He
a
did.
problem.
He's good to work with. He actually did a job for Metacomet after that, a little parking area, which turned out really well. So he's local, good to work with. So I suspect he'd be willing to take a look at Mechanic Street parking area and provide us with any suggestions about how it might be graded.
Is that something we should hand over to SVT, who is actually there, if they're going to be building the parking lot? I just assume they take the lead on it.
Yeah, I guess what I suggest is maybe jointly, ask Dan from SVT if he could meet with Barrows, and but we should be there because we need to know what's going on so I can write the notice of intent application. So we are on the hook for doing the permitting. SVT's responsibility is construction and O&M. So, and that, if possible, that should happen quickly, so we can, we can get the permitting done this spring. before the construction season.
Okay.
So Miss Ella, do you want to get a hold of Dan and Greg and try to
Not
set
really,
something up?
but I will. I really
Uh,
don't really, it's
do,
fine.
do you want me to do it?
No, that's okay. I mean, I'd like to touch base with Dan anyway, and it's not that big a deal.
Just copy me on it if I can. I'd like to be there when they're discussing it, so I know what they're doing, and I can also show Greg the mitigation area. I mean, that's like a relative to the parking lot. That's like a really small thing, but it's at least talk to him about it a little bit.
Okay.
All right. Great. Thanks. Anything else for stewardship?
Not that I'm remembering. Doesn't mean there isn't, but I think we're that's the big thing that we're working on now.
Okay. Great. Thanks. Good progress. So discussion items. It's already almost 9. Maybe we can cruise through these.
Do the hearing, open the hearing for.
Oh, thank you. You remember.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Right. Okay, yeah. Mary, could you please read the public notice for the NOI for Governor's Landing, sanitary sewer, water main, and pumping station?
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, January 24th at 8:45 p.m. A notice of intent filed by the Upton Department of Public Works for the installation of a new water main, sanitary sewer, and construction of a driveway to access the proposed pump station located at 41 and 45 Milford Street.
Okay. Well, do I have a motion to continue the hearing until
February 14th at 7:30, I think.
okay.
So
Motion
moved.
Okay. Second. All right. Any discussion? All right. Voice vote, please.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Micah.
Marcella, I.
All right. Thank you, Mary, for reminding us. Okay, discussion items, warrant articles, we've talked about that, I think. Talked about Lake Wildwood, open space. 2024 Trails Grant application, I'm working on it. Expect to be able to submit it in time. I've got the Robertsons have signed a permission form. Since it's on their property, they need to sign a permission form, but they've signed it. I just have to get a copy of it. Maple Ave wetland encroachments, Mary?
I still need to do the enforcement order on that. So.
Okay. Swooping Farm CR monitoring. Mary, you sent around a letter regarding the stone wall issue. I don't know if anyone from the commission had a chance to review that. Or Mary, could maybe put the letter up, please?
Yes. It's pretty simple. Know if I can zoom in or not. Can you guys read that?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if was Grace present at the walk, Marcella?
Yes.
Yeah, so she's kind of heard this before. So, and I assume she received a copy of the report. I don't know.
I'm assuming that Laura would have sent it to her, but I'd have to confirm that.
Right. Well, I guess we could just send it to her again. It seems reasonable to do that, right? And then
yeah.
and just concerns about branches, compost and stone placed along and on top of the stone walls. The commission decided that excess material should be removed so that the structure and historic character of the walls would not be compromised. SVT and the commission further discussed that existing stone walls may be enhanced so long as this is done in a manner consistent with historic methods. And I think that was in reference to like adding stones to the wall.
Yeah, and I mean, historic methods would be digging them up and getting your, bowls out there to drag the rocks to the side of. That may not be feasible, but if at least it's visually, consistent with the historic building. Right now, it's just piles of stone. Yeah, and if she could attend, I don't know what the best time to meet for her would be. She's got a lot on her plate, but this may be.
Have her to schedule a meeting call to schedule a time to meet or whatever.
Yeah, that would be great.
Now, I would say it is a request of the Conservation Commission and SVT. I would add them because they're a co-holder on the
oh right
on the CR, and then CC Dan on it.
Okay.
SVT.
This is Bill. I have a suggestion. Can I add that?
Please do.
Yep, please.
I think you could probably add something that says in order to comply with the conservation restriction, and just reference the there's a section of the restriction that specifically states that the stone walls will be maintained in their historic. I mean, you'd have to just pull it from the restriction.
Okay, I'll find that. Well, I will send around another draft before sending this out and make sure it's okay with SVT.
Yeah, let them have a chance to comment on it and plan to attend the meeting. I think it'd be important if they attended too, since they do co-hold the CR.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on this for now? Okay, next up is Five Forks Farm Irrigation Pond as-built. Mary did obtain an as-built plan, so I think we can probably close that out. It's one thing I noted, just it's the design was for a 25-year event, so hopefully it will be able to withstand more larger precipitation events. But the design and I think I remember the NRCS actually has a manual for designing and constructing these retention ponds, and in there I remember seeing they're supposed to design for a 25-year event, so that's what they did.
There is she still needs to put a fence up around it.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know what impacts that's going to have on the stream. Because it's federally supported, that's a requirement. They would pay for a chain link fence, but that doesn't do it for her aesthetically. So she's going to pay out of pocket and put up something that is a little more appealing to her. But I just wanted to make sure that we know that it's not quite done.
Thanks. Yeah, that is a good thing to note. I personally, not chain link, but if it was like a post and rail fence, but with a wire mesh, kind of like dog yard fence. And the reason is the slopes in that detention basin are pretty steep, and you know, if they end up having more public access to that side of the farm, you know, I think that, you know, remember seeing their concept plan is for parking and maybe some trails. You just want to have an extra safety feature there. You don't want some kid to sneak underneath underneath the rails and then slide into the pond. And the pond's pretty deep, and you know, I remember the slope. I think it's 1 on 3 or something like that. That's steep enough that you know you could be in trouble. You know,
How
somebody.
deep is the pond?
I think it's around 8 feet deep, but I don't have the as-built in front of me. But it's certainly deep enough to be a hazard to a child.
I'm sure Grace would be as concerned about liability as anyone, so I'm hoping that that will be part of her plan.
Yeah, maybe just let her know if, unless anyone in the commission has a concern from an aesthetic standpoint, there wouldn't be a problem with a post and rail fence with backed up with a wire mesh, like a 2-inch mesh or something like that. 2x4 mesh, 2-inch by 4-inch mesh.
Yeah, I don't know what if she needs to come before us before she does that, but
Well, does anyone now have a concern with that? And then if not, Marcella, you can just let her know that commission's okay with it. Maybe she might have to touch with SVT too. However,
yeah, I don't think it hurts to mention to her that the safety concerns are on our minds and that they should also be on her mind. As far as aesthetics go, that's really very big for her, and I think that she might do something that's similar to what, in terms of visual appeal, what's around there already, what Misty River installed. So I haven't talked to her about when and how, but she did mention it, so I wanted to make sure that was on the table. Next time I see her, I'll bring it up.
okay, all right. Anything else on that? All right, One Dogwood Drive easement letter. Do we have any update on that, Mary? Did town council take a look at that, or Joe, town manager? Should we
No.
just continue that?
Unless, Bill, do you have any comments on the plans?
Well, yeah, so did we get a plan that shows where all of the stormwater structures, facilities, whatever you want to call them, are? Because the plan that's recorded doesn't seem to show that. And wouldn't that be typically part of what we would get as a project?
Yeah,
Because that's what I need to find to show Dennis.
okay. Yeah, and I think I had a plan which showed it. I did have a plan which showed at least some of the stormwater structures. For example, there's an easement over on Blueberry, which has a catch basin, and then the outlet for the catch basin is behind the house. So there's like a pipe, through that property. But there didn't seem to be anything for this particular one, except I had found another section of the plan which said there was a proposed kind of wetland mitigation area in the rear of this property. That I did find that, and but I don't know that it was ever followed through on. This was on the original plans and not necessarily on a final plan.
Have we?
Wouldn't the set of plans include a page or two that would show the stormwater?
It should, yeah. So maybe it's in the planning board plans.
Yeah.
I'll check and see what they have.
Because I think that's what we need the plans that would show all of everything, so that we can go through the various pages to be sure there's nothing on there that access easement was intended to provide access to.
Right.
I don't think there is, and it looks like the replication or whatever it was didn't happen, so.
Right.
Mary, did we issue a certificate of compliance for this?
There is no certificate of
Yeah.
compliance either for the subdivision or for any of the individual lots.
Okay. I guess that should be wrapped up into like a bigger discussion, and need to get a hold of the developer and remind them that, you know, sooner or later, someone's going to try to, you know, sell their property, and some attorney's going to say, hey, where's your COC? And there'll be a fire drill after that. So we should follow up on that, and then maybe there's an as-built required that was never done, you know, possibly, or
Well,
we have as-bills.
So this is what happened as far as I can tell. Eastland did submit requests for certificate of compliance for all the individual lots, and I think maybe the whole subdivision. And it seems like the Concom talked about it for a little bit and then kind of dropped the ball, or the ball got dropped somewhere. And so they did go through the proper motions of submitting their request and paid their cash, and submitted an as-built.
Okay. When
so I
was
think-
that roughly? Just
I feel like maybe like 2017 or 18, maybe.
okay.
Maybe not. I do have the letter with the request.
Okay. Well, that's good. And if we have as-built plans, that's what all we can ask for. If they satisfactorily did that and other requirements. So
Right, and just making sure, but I think we can use that certificate of
the old
compliance
request, yeah.
to make sure that all the easements, et cetera, are taken care of that were originally part of the subdivision.
Mhm. Okay, to be continued. Mechanic Street parking area design, we talked about that. Possible modifications to Conservation Commission land use regs.
I haven't had a chance to work on that, so.
Okay, we can continue that to the next meeting. Naming conservation area for Mechanic Street and Peppercorn. I did reach out to the Historical Commission. Craig Weissenfuse, I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name.
Weinfuss.
He did email me back. The suggestion is, one suggestion would be perhaps George Hill conservation area. It is on the slopes of George Hill, and George was not some English king, but was a Native American. His name was George Misco, and he apparently owned a lot of that property at one time, and the hill was named after him. That's just one option, you know. We could probably continue this discussion, but that's what so far what the feedback I've gotten from the Historical Commission is, perhaps call it the George Hill or the George Conservation Area.
Don't we already have something named for George?
No, I don't think we do. No.
Huh,
The
okay.
only little, caveat on George Hill is that the actual summit of George Hill is quite distance from the Mechanic Street property, but it is on the slopes of George Hill.
But George Hill is named for George. isn't-
Right, George
is it-
Misco,
is it-
the
yeah,
Native American, not King George or anything.
Right, so he is on the map as, I just have an aversion to double naming, there's how many Whitneys do we need in Upton, and how, it gets really confusing. We've got two Maple Streets or one Maple Street and one Maple Road. It makes me crazy. Just my pet peeve. But
Well, it is, the map shows George Hill being nearby, the USGS map. It's officially by the USGS designated as George Hill. So it's, conceivably be similar to Peppercorn Hill Conservation Area, if you wanted to name it at that. I wouldn't recommend we name it George Misco, or we be careful about saying Misco Hill or anything like, because there's another Misco Hill in town up that, you know, near Mendon, southern other part of town.
Well,
But
by naming it after a Native American, are we running into that same problem that we ran into at Peppercorn Hill, even if it is an English sounding name? You know, how does that
I don't know.
play out?
That's a good question. You know, we could end up not just naming it Mechanic Street Conservation Area, which I would rather have a different name personally than that, but you know, what the consensus is from the commission. We've got a little bit of time. At some point, we're gonna have a kiosk and a trail map, and at that point, we probably should have a name for the property, or perhaps even for the final conservation restriction, it could be in that too.
Isn't there a
Does that-
sign about George Misco or something right there in Grafton? I think I walk by it sometimes when I walk this loop. I forget the name of the street, but if you're coming down 140 going past Silver Lake and you take the first left right after Silver Lake, and then the first road that comes into that, there's a sign right there in the corner that says something about George Misco Trail or something. It's set kind of off a little bit. I can't remember the exact thing, but I used to walk by that all the time. So, and that would be part of that whole piece, although it's a long distance away. It's about as far away as you can get. But there is something on that property that I believe refers to what you're talking about, but I'm not clear on that. I can look for it tomorrow.
Yeah, if you could take a picture of it, Tom, if you see it.
Okay.
And then the other thing, we could also do a little research with the Grafton Historical Commission too. Maybe reach out to them a little bit.
Right, because it sounds like where Tom is describing might be part of where the praying village, you know, part of that envelope for the praying village, which is, you know, the Hassanemet Woods open space in Grafton is the Hassanemet praying village. So.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Grace, help.
Okay,
These two people, Anderson, somebody, and George Hill need to leave. And Jacob, I think, whoever that is, need to leave.
Oh, it wasn't me, sir.
Okay.
It was Jacob. You should ban him.
Yeah, he should be removed. All right, who are you, Anderson? Do you have something to add to the Conservation Commission?
No, I was just asking that Jacob was the one who posted that. He shared his screen and showed all that.
Well,
just want to help you out, sir.
All right, so why are you on this call or on this meeting?
I'm just here to serve for my boss. My boss told me to serve this meeting. He gave me the rank, so yeah, that's why I'm here.
Who's your boss?
Jonathan Kurt. But he also goes by the Adrian Harding.
Who?
The Adrian Harding. That's what my boss goes by, sir.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with him or any issue he might have with the town, but all right.
No, he's from a different company.
All right. Okay, thank you.
No problem, sir.
All right, so shall we continue the George Hill conservation discussion?
Yeah.
Naming discussion?
Were any other suggestions made?
That was the one discussion. That was the excuse me, the one suggestion that was made.
Okay. Did the historical commission actually discuss that, or was it?
No, I don't know. It was an email from Craig.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think we need to discuss it further.
Okay. All right, inventory detention basins, let's continue that. Budget we've talked about, and the last thing is mosquito and tick committee event proposal discussion. Marcella, do you have anything there, or do you want to continue that?
Yeah, I don't have anything on that.
All right, does anyone have anything else to discuss that they'd like to bring up? Okay, if not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, voice vote, please.
Hi.
Tom, I.
Aye.
Mike, aye.
Ella, I.
All right, thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.